I killed my best friend today. Not with a gun or a knife, but with words sharper than any blade, spilling secrets she'd buried deeper than her own grave. And as the judge's voice cracked like thunder in that stuffy Philadelphia courtroom, calling out her real name, my real name, I watched her face crumple. The queen of lies finally dethroned in front of God, the jury, and every ghost we dragged from our shared past. It started 3 years ago, on a sweltering July night in the underbelly of Silicon Valley, where dreams get coded into fortunes and betrayals get encrypted just as easily. I was Audrey Klein, 32, a mid-level data analyst at Helix Genomics, crunching numbers on gene editing trials that promised to cure the incurable. My life was a grind. Overpriced ramen in a shoebox apartment in San Jose, weekend hikes in the Santa Cruz Mountains to shake off the screen glare, and late-night calls with Lena Voss, my ride or die since freshman year at Stanford. She was the spark to my steady burn, blonde, bold, with a laugh that could disarm a boardroom and eyes that hid knives. We were sisters in all but blood, or so I thought. That night, Lena dragged me to a networking event at some venture capital firm's rooftop lounge overlooking the bay. Champagne flutes clinking, tech bros in untucked button-downs pitching apps that would revolutionize empathy. I nursed a gin and tonic, feeling like the frumpy sidekick in my thrift store blouse, while Lena worked the room like a pro. She was gunning for a spot at Neuralink, the hottest neural tech startup. Whispers of black market brain scans and consciousness uploads floating like vape clouds. Audrey, loosen up, she giggled, pressing a fresh drink into my hand. This is where futures get made. By midnight, we'd stumbled into a private demo room. Velvet ropes and NDAs thicker than the fog rolling in from the water. The host was Dr. Elias Crow, Neuralink's enigmatic founder, a silver-haired shark in his 50s, with a Yale pedigree and rumors of DARPA funding that made even the edgiest coders uneasy. He demoed their prototype, a neural interface helmet, sleek as a motorcycle lid, wired to map and mimic brain patterns. Not just reading thoughts, he purred, his voice like oiled leather. We're talking transference. Echoes of the mind, preserved forever. Lena's eyes lit up like she'd found the Holy Grail. I felt a chill, the kind that says run. But curiosity or stupidity kept me strapped in for a test run. They scanned me first. Electrodes humming, my skull buzzing like a hive of angry bees. Visions flashed, childhood memories of my mom's laugh echoing in our Jersey kitchen, the sting of my dad's abandonment, the raw ache of burying my little brother after that drunk driver hit. Then Lena's turn. Her scan was shorter, sharper, flashes of Ivy League parties, cutthroat internships, a hidden abortion at 19 that she confessed to me over cheap tequila. We laughed it off later, chalking it up to too much bubbly. But as we left, arms linked, Lena whispered, "What if we could trade those echoes, become someone else? Just for a day." I should have seen the fracture then. But fractures in friendship are like hairline cracks in glass. You don't notice until the whole thing shatters. 2 weeks later, the call came. Helix had been hacked. Patient data from our gene trials leaked online. Identities, genetic markers, the works. The fallout was biblical, lawsuits piling up, FDA breathing down our necks, my boss screaming for a scapegoat. I was the one who'd flagged a vulnerability in the firewall 6 months back, but bureaucracy buried it. Now, it was my ass on the line. "Audrey, you're the analyst," HR said flatly. "Sign the waiver. Take the fall." We'll make it worth your while. Severance. Reference. The golden parachute. I signed. What choice did I have? Bills stacking. Student loans like anchors. Lena was there that day in the conference room, squeezing my hand under the table. You're doing the right thing. AUD. Heroes get remembered. Her voice was honey, but her grip was iron. That night, alone in my apartment, the swap happened. Not with fanfare or sci-fi glow, but in the dead quiet of 3 a.m., when insomnia has you scrolling conspiracy forums. I'd woken sweating, heart pounding, convinced I'd imagined it. But the mirror lied. Staring back wasn't my mousy brown bob and hazel eyes, it was Lena. Blonde waves, blue stare, the faint scar on her chin from that sorority prank gone wrong. I touched my face, her face, and felt the wrongness, like wearing a skin suit 2 sizes too tight. Panic clawed at my throat. I grabbed my phone, dialed her. No answer. Texts bounced unread. By dawn, I was at her loft in Palo Alto, pounding on the door until a neighbor threatened to call the cops. She answered in my body, my lanky frame, my freckles, my goddamn chipped front tooth from that skateboarding wipeout at 16. Audrey, she said, but it was my voice, laced with her smug lilt. What the hell are you doing here? We screamed. Accusations flew like shrapnel. She'd done it, used Crow's tech. Not for a lark, but for this. The hack, a setup. She'd planted the back door, funneled the data to a rival firm for a 7-figure payout. But to cash the check clean, she needed a patsy. Me. The loyal friend who'd take the rap, serve the probation, fade into obscurity while she ascended in my skin, untainted record, my Helix credentials, my unassuming vibe to slip under radars. Why? I choked, staring at my own hands, her nails, manicured red, like they belonged to a stranger. Because you were safe. AUD. Predictable. I needed your life to bury mine. The debts. The scandals. Remember that embezzlement at my last gig? The coke-fueled nights that almost tanked my career? Poof. Gone. You're the villain now. And I'm the ghost. She slammed the door. I stood there, rain soaking her designer coat I'd grabbed in haste, realizing the betrayal wasn't just theft, it was erasure. She'd stolen my face, my future, myself. And in the hollow echo of that slam, revenge wasn't a choice. It was oxygen. The first months were hell, a fever dream of identity theft on steroids. I couldn't go to the cops. How do you explain body swapping without sounding like a tinfoil hat case? Neuralink's NDAs were ironclad. Crow's lawyers sharks in pinstripes. I tried once, anonymously, tipping off a reporter at the Chronicle. The story died in edits. Woman claims identity fraud via mind tech. Sources skeptical. Lena, in my body, played the victim card masterfully. Press conferences decrying the heinous hack, tears streaming down my cheeks for the cameras. She got a book deal out of it. Hacked Soul, Surviving Corporate Betrayal. Bestseller. Movie rights pending. Meanwhile, I scavenged as Lena Voss, the disgraced blonde who'd vanished after the incident. Fake IDs, burner phones, crashing on couches in Oakland squats. I dyed her hair black, pierced her nose, my reflection now a punk rock stranger, to blend into the gig economy. Barista shifts, Uber drives through the fog-choked streets of the Bay Area. Every tip jar rattle reminded me of the fortune she'd siphoned. Every passenger's glance in the rear view was a paranoia spike. Did they see the fraud in my eyes? But knowledge was my weapon. During that scan, fragments of her mind had bled into mine, memories like glitchy VHS tapes. I knew her passwords, her lovers' names, the offshore account where the hack money laundered through crypto. And Crow, he was the linchpin. Lena hadn't acted alone. He'd greenlit the swap. His tech the key. In exchange, access to Helix's gene data for Neuralink's consciousness vault, uploading elite minds to dodge death. A billionaire's immortality hack. The betrayal cut cosmic. She'd sold me for a shot at godhood. My first move was subtle. A poison pill in the well. I hacked her, my old email from a library computer, planting breadcrumbs, anonymous leaks to the SEC about Neuralink's off-books trials. Whispers of human experimentation without consent. The stock dipped 8%. Lena, sensing the noose, tightened her grip, framed me for stalking and a restraining order filed under my name. Cops showed at my crash pad, badges glinting under sodium lights. I bolted, heart slamming, into the labyrinth of BART tunnels. That's when the controversial calls started. Desperation breeds devils. I reached out to Marco Ruiz, a disbarred PI from Lena's past, a sleazy ex who'd clued me in on her embezzlement cover-up during a drunken confessional years back. Found him in a dive bar in Fresno, nursing whiskey and grudges. Voss screwed you too? I asked, sliding him a burner with her account deets. His eyes narrowed, then gleamed. What's the play? Blondie. Truth serum, I said. But first, we burn her bridges. We doxed her donors, subtle at first. IRS tips on unreported gifts, then escalated. I posed as her in voice mod calls to investors, spilling regrets about the hack, hinting at accomplices. Paranoia rippled through boardrooms. Lena's rise stalled. Invitations dried up. She lashed back, using my body's unscarred rep to lobby Congress for neural privacy bills, ironic, since she'd shredded mine. The tension coiled like a spring in my gut. Nights blurred into amphetamine-fueled planning sessions in Fleabag motels off I-5. Marco became my shadow, his cynicism a mirror to my fracturing soul. Revenge ain't justice. Kid, he'd rasp, chain-smoking camels. It's just trading scars. But scars were all I had left. I debated mercy, expose her quietly, reclaim my life through therapy or tech reversal. But every mirror mock whispered no. This wasn't redemption. It was reclamation. By year 2, Ideklawa Fotol. Using Lena's pilfered creds, I enrolled in night classes at UC Berkeley Neuroscience, under a pseudonym. Her mind echoes helped. I aced exams, networked with grad students buzzing about ethical AI. One, a lanky ethicist named Priya, became an ally. Over bad coffee in the campus cafe, I fed her half-truths, hypothetical body swaps via neural mapping. Consent violations. Her thesis pivoted, citing anonymous sources. It went viral in academic circles, pressuring Neuralink into a Senate hearing. Lena caught wind. A midnight call. Her voice, mine dripping venom. You think you're clever? Audrey? This ends when I say. Crow's got dirt on you too. That little brother's accident? You were driving.
Lie.
But the seed planted doubt. Had her memories twisted mine? The crash replayed in nightmares, rain-slicked roads in Philly. My brother's hand limp on the dash. DUI manslaughter charge dropped due to mechanical failure, but the guilt lingered like exhaust fumes. Was that her poison? Or truth? The decisions darkened. To fund the endgame, I dipped into gray markets, selling Neuralink knockoffs on the dark web, tweaking code to induce migraines in testers. Controversial? Hell yes. Victims complained of ghost pains, echoes of swapped psyches. I justified it as collateral, Lena's empire built on worse. Marco sourced black market trink darts for insurance. Priya warned me. This path. Audrey, it's not revenge. It's becoming the monster. But monsters win wars. We traced Crow's vault, a bunker in the Nevada desert, wired for uploads. Lena was prepping her ascension, ditching my body for digital eternity once the heat died. The climax brewed in that arid waste. Infiltrate. Sabotage. Force a confession on live feed. We rolled out in a stolen RV. Dust devils whipping sagebrush under a blood-orange moon. Marco at the wheel. Priya on comms. Me in the back chambering rounds I swore I'd never fire. Border patrol lights flickered distant. We were ghosts in the machine. The bunker loomed like a concrete scar, guards in tack vests. Retinal scans bypassed with Lena's iris print from her phone biometrics. Inside, sterile white corridors hummed with servers. The air ozone-sharp. We split. Marco on diversions. Priya hacking feeds. I ghosted to the core chamber. Heart a war drum. There she was, Lena, in my skin, strapped to the upload rig. Crow hovering like a priest at an altar. Almost time, he murmured. Syringe glinting. Your vessels served its purpose. I stepped from shadows. Trank dart hissing into his neck. He slumped. A felled oak. Lena's eyes, my eyes, widened. You, she hissed. Us, I corrected. Voice hers but laced with my steel. I ripped the four, hauled her to the console. Confess. On camera. The hack. The swap, everything. She laughed. Manic. And then, you take this back. She gestured to my body. Frail now from her excesses, lines etched from coke binges. Tremors from suppressed guilt. It's ruined. AUD. I lived it harder than you ever could. The twist hit like vertigo. As I forced the neural link, reversing the map, pulling her essence back, I glimpsed the buried secret. Not just betrayal. The crash, she'd been there. Covering for me. No, I'd covered for her. That night in Philly. Post-grad haze. We'd swapped cars for a joyride. She drove. Hammered on vodka. The wreck was hers. But I took the charge. The plea. The shame, erasing it from her record so she could chase dreams unscarred. You owed me, I whispered. The truth inverting like a Mobius strip. Her crime. My burden. All along. I'd been the patsy in more ways than one. She buckled. Essence fracturing on the feed. Priya beamed worldwide, live on dark web streams. Bouncing to CNN tickers. I did it, she gasped. My face contorting in her agony. The hack. The swap. Audrey's innocent. The world watched a woman in a familiar body unravel. Secrets spilling like code cascading. Sirens wailed as we fled. Feds swarming. Choppers thumping overhead. Marco took a bullet in the leg. Priya vanished into the night. I drove. Lena's body limp in the back. The swap incomplete. Echoes mingling. Psyches bleeding. Dawn broke over the Sierras. Gold light gilding escape routes. We ended in a roadside diner off Route 66. Fluorescent buzz and grease-scented air. She woke chained to the booth. My old form gaunt. Eyes hollow. "What now?" she croaked. "Jury's out," I said, sliding her a coffee black. Like always. The news blared. Neuralink shuttered. Crow arrested. Senate probes launching. My name, our name, cleared, but the mirror still lied. Reversal tech? Experimental. Risky. One wrong pulse, and we'd both glitch out. The controversial choice, mercy or mirror. I could upload her remnants, trap her in digital limbo, eternal payback. Or release her. Let karma's courts grind slow. As the judge's voice echoed in my head from that Philly hearing years back, when I'd pled guilty in silence, I chose the debate. Handed her the keys to the RV.
Run.
But remember, next time I see me, it's a bullet. She drove off into the haze. A ghost in my skin. I hitched east. Toward the Atlantic's roar. Echoes fading but never gone. Was it justice? Victory? Or just another swap? Trading places with the devil? Folks still argue in those true crime pods, hero or villain. I smile into the wind. Knowing the truth's a funhouse mirror reflects what you bring. But in quiet moments, hiking those Jersey trails where it all began, I wonder if I could swap back. Would I? Her life's boulder strokes on my canvas, scars and all. Maybe that's the real revenge, living larger than the lie. The diner coffee had gone cold, bitter as the aftertaste of that Nevada dawn.
But I sipped it anyway,
letting the sludge coat my throat like armor. Freedom's first taste is always this, acrid, uncertain, laced with the what-ifs that keep you up staring at motel ceilings patterned like Rorschach regrets. I'd given Lena the wheel, the wide-open road, a fighting chance to vanish into America's endless sprawl. Stupid? Maybe. But in the swap's weird calculus, mercy felt like the ultimate twist. Letting her run with my face meant she'd wear the weight of it forever. Every stranger's glance a reminder that her empire was built on borrowed bones. I hitched a ride with a trucker named Hank, grizzled ex-Marine hauling produce from Barstow to Flagstaff. His rig smelled of diesel and regret. CB radio crackling with trucker poetry about lonely highways and phantom wives. "You runnin' from something?" "Sweetheart," he drawled, eyes on the dotted line as saguaros blurred past. "For myself," I said, which was truer than he knew. He chuckled, offered jerky and stories of nom ghosts. By Albuquerque, I'd pieced a plan, no more shadows. Reclaim the life she stole, piece by fractured piece. First stop, Philly, the courtroom where it all echoed back. The city of brotherly love welcomed me with gray skies and SEPTA delays. The Schuylkill River sluggish under bridges tagged with faded Eagles graffiti. I crashed at a halfway house in Kensington, the kind where junkies nod off in doorways and hope's a luxury tax. Using cash from a dark web score, Lena's crypto trickle-eyed rerouted. I bought burner threads, jeans that fit her curves without screaming fraud. A hoodie to hide the blonde roots creeping through my dye job. The records office was a tomb in City Hall. Marble halls echoing with footsteps like accusations. I flashed a forged ID, Lena Voss, freelance journalist, and requested the file, Klein v. State. That rainy night plea from a decade back. The clerk, a bored woman with cat-eye glasses, slid it over without a blink. Pages yellowed. Ink faded. My signature on the waiver. The judge's scrawl dismissing charges on insufficient evidence of intent. But buried in the addendum, a witness statement. And signed, describing the driver as blonde, agitated, not the defendant, Lena. covering her tracks even then, letting me shoulder the manslaughter shadow so she could jet west unburdened. The betrayal layered like sedimentary rock, first the crash cover, then the life theft. I photocopied it all, heart pounding as if the paper might ignite.
Outside.
Rain slicked the cobblestones. I ducked into a cheesesteak joint, grease and onions a greasy comfort against the chill. That's where the past collided. A voice from the counter. Audrey? Holy shit. It was Tommy Hargrove. My high school flame. Now a beat cop with a paunch and wedding ring tan line fresh off. We hugged awkward. Him smelling of Old Spice and duty. Me fighting the urge to bolt.
Oh, for Wishfit.
He probed. Heard you in Hollywood. What brings you back to this shithole? Ghosts, I said, flashing the file like a badge. His brow furrowed, cop instincts pinging. I spun a half-truth. Corporate espionage case. Old family skeletons. He bought it. Or pretended to. Buying me a Yangling and a lead on a skip tracer buddy who could dig deeper. Tommy became an unwitting anchor. Dinners at his row house in Fishtown. Plates of his wife's overcooked lasagna. Stories of precinct bullshit and Little League coaching. In Lena's body, I played the enigmatic Ritterny, laughing at his jokes. Touching his arm just so. Controversial?
God. Yes.
Seducing intel from a married man felt like dipping into her playbook. But necessity's a harsh editor. One night, post-IPA haze on his porch swing. He cracked. That crash file? Saw the addendum once. Back when I was a rookie. Thought it was bullshit, your blood alcohol was clean. But the blonde witness matched Voss's description from some traffic stop. Confirmation hit like a gut punch. She'd orchestrated it all, puppeteering my guilt from afar. I left his bed at dawn, boundaries intact, but lines blurred, thanking the universe for small mercies. Armed with Tommy's contacts, I traced her trail. Lena, in my skin, had fled west post-exposure, but not far. Sightings in Reno casinos. Playing slots with my poker face. Wiring funds to a P.O. box in Tahoe. The road called again. I-80 east to west. A ribbon of asphalt unspooling under thunderheads. I bought a beater Civic in a Craigslist ambush. Cash deal with a tweaker seller who didn't ask questions. Priya pinged from an encrypted app. Feds circling Neuralink. But Crow's lawyered up. Your feed went nuclear, congrats? Or condolences? I replied with coordinates. Pulling her into the fold.
Marco.
Hobbling on a cane from his wound. Met me in Salt Lake. Eyes shadowed, but grin wolfish. She runnin'.
All right.
But ghosts always circle home. Our trio reformed in a pine-scented cabin off Donner Pass. Snow dusting the eaves like powder regret. Strategy sessions by Woodstove Crackle. Priya on digital trails. Marco on muscle. Me on the mind meld remnants. Lena's echoes whispered weaknesses. Phobias of enclosed spaces from her claustrophobic childhood. A tick of biting her lip when cornered. We plotted the snatch. Lure her to a reunion via hacked email. My old Stanford alias. Audrey's alive. Wants to talk terms. Midnight. The old Overlook. She bit. Of course. Arrogance is the flip side of cunning. The Overlook was a vertigo perch above the lake. Moon-silvered waters churning 500 feet below. Wind howled through Jeffrey Pines, carrying the metallic tang of altitude. I waited alone. Marco and Priya in sniper perches. Headlights pierced the dark, her rental SUV. Tires crunching gravel. She stepped out in my body, bundled in a parka too big for her frame, breath fogging like surrender. Audrey, she said, voice mine but edged with exhaustion. Or should I say, Lena? Truce. I stepped forward, her face illuminated by dash glow, freckles I'd hated as a teen now gaunt, eyes shadowed like mine had been pre-swap.
No truces.
Just truths. I played the recording, the crash witness audio.
Tomistit.
SEC leaks tying her to Crow's vault. Her lip bit tell. You think this ends me? I've got backups. Digital me? Uploaded last week. This shell? She patted my chest. Disposable. The revelation twisted again. Backups? She'd forked her consciousness. Lena prime in the cloud. This vessel a decoy. But the echo in me stirred, fragments of her upload process. Glitches where my memories contaminated the stream. You're not immortal, I said. You're deluded. My guilt, my grief, it's in there, rotting your forever. Panic flickered. She lunged for a hidden taser, or just fight or flight, but Marco's trank whispered from the trees. She crumpled, a puppet cut loose. We bundled her into the Civic trunk, Priya driving while I monitored vitals. The plan, a black site cabin in the Cascades, neural rig salvaged from Neuralink debris. Force the full reversal.
Purge the echoes.
Let the courts claim the husk.
Vue en route.
The debate raged internal. Controversial calculus. Torture for truth? The rig wasn't gentle, probes like ice picks into the skull, inducing seizures to map and migrate essences. Priya balked. This is Mengel shit.
Audrey.
We're better. Marco shrugged. Or we're dead. I chose the gray. Minimal dose. Enough to extract confession on tape. Broadcast to shatter her digital doppelganger's firewalls. The cabin reeked of pine sap and fierce sweat. Strapped to the jury-rigged chair, Lena thrashed as currents hummed. Visions bled. Her abortion regret. My brother's last laugh. Crow's leers during the swap. Stop, she screamed, my voice cracking. I did it for us. You were wasting away, safe job. Safe life. I gave you adventure. Lies. I snarled, but doubt wormed. Had I chosen stasis, letting her propel us both? The machine whirred, pulling threads, her essence fraying.
Minestränitening.
Midway, the twist inverted. The upload wasn't hers alone. Crow had hedged, infusing my patterns as a failsafe, antidote to psychopathy, a moral governor. Her digital self was me, corrupted core. Destroying it meant erasing the last clean Audrey. Sirens distant, feds. Tipped by a glitchy trace, we aborted, hauling her limp form to the porch as choppers thumped. Your call, Marco grunted, gun in hand. End it, or echo the mercy I'd shown before. I chose the storm. Unchained her. Shoved coordinates to a safe house. Live with it. The ghost in your machine. She staggered to the tree lean, vanishing into mist. Priya hugged me fierce. Heroic or insane? Marco lit a smoke. Both. That's the American way. We scattered, her to academia, him to Mexico. Me, back to the bay. Blonde roots showing like flags of truce. The mirror reflected her, but the eyes were mine, scarred, but seeing clear. California welcomed me back with wildfires licking the horizon, ash falling like gray snow on the Golden Gate's rust-red struts. The air tasted of char and second chances, a fitting perfume for a woman piecing herself from borrowed shards. I'd let Lena slip the noose again. Her digital haunt a ticking bomb in some server farm. But the weight lifted fractionally, like exhaling after holding breath for a decade. No more running blind, now. It was surgical strikes, carving my name back into the world's ledger one revelation at a time. First, the legal labyrinth. I lawyered up with a pro bono firebrand from the ACLU, a sharp-elbowed Latina named Rosa Valdez who'd cut her teeth on Snowden leaks. Met her in a taqueria off Market Street. Tacos al pastor steaming between us as I spilled the saga, body swap. Corporate conspiracy. The works. She didn't blink. Just jotted notes on a napkin stained with salsa. Sci-fi is shit. But the ethics? Gold. We'll frame it as identity theft meets big tech overreach. Subpoena Neuralink's black box. The filings hit like depth charges.
Was?
Helix/Neuralink. Petition for restitution of corporeal identity. Headline screamed, Woman sues to reclaim her body in bizarre neural tech case. Pundits on Fox and MSNBC frothed, conspiracy fodder for the ages. Lena, in my skin, surfaced in a tearful 60-minute spot. My friends lost, manipulated by machines. I'm just trying to honor her memory. Oscar bait. But cracks showed, her lip bite, the echo glitch in her blink. Rosa pulled strings, a federal judge in San Francisco fast-tracked hearings. Prep was grueling. Psych evals where shrinks probed my fractured psyche. Polygraphs beeping like accusatory heartbeats. Do you intend harm to MS? Voss? The machine hummed. I thought of Donner Pass. The unpooled trigger.
No, primelit.
Or half-lied. Revenge had evolved not bullets, but the slow bleed of exposure. The courtroom was a pressure cooker. Walnut paneling and air thick with cologne and contempt. Crow sat stone-faced beside his dream team. Suits like armored knights. Lena, my body her armor. Testified first. Audrey was unstable. The hack broke her. This swap delusion? Tragic. Jurors nodded. Salt-of-the-earth types from Marin suburbs. Eyes sympathetic to her. My quivering lip. My turn. I took the stand in a tailored blazer that hung loose on Lena's frame. Voice steady as the bay fog. Your Honor. Imagine waking in a stranger's skin. Your crimes pinned like medals on your chest. I played the tapes, confession feeds, crash addendums. SEC wire transfers tracing her dirty money. Gasps rippled. A juror, a burly plumber type, leaned forward, fist clenched. Then the hook, the judge. A grizzled vet named Harlan Thorpe with a drawl like aged bourbon, called for the record's custodian. By name, if you please. Ms. Voss or Klein stepped forward. Silence crashed, heavy as a gavel's echo. Lena froze. My face paling to chalk. The joke she'd spun for years. The seamless masquerade. Ended in that beat. The bench recognizing the fraud in the flesh. Cross-examination was a bloodless slaughter. Crow's counsel grilled me. Ms. Voss. Isn't this a bid for fame? Your evidence circumstantial at best. I locked eyes with him. Silver fox gone to seed. Call it what you want.
Doctor.
But your vault holds more than mines. It holds murders of self. Rosa dropped the bomb. Forensic neural logs. Subpoenaed from the bunker. Showing the swap's non-consensual stamp. Timestamp. 2:47 a.m.
Post-hack.
My signature forged in biometrics. Lena cracked on redirect. It was mercy, she blurted. Voice mine but raw with her desperation. Audrey was drowning, that plea deal. The guilt. I freed her. The gallery murmured. Thorpe banged for order, his stare pinning her like a butterfly. Freed? Or enslaved?
Ma'am?
This court sees theft. Plain and digital. Recess brought chaos, reporters swarming the halls. Mics thrust like spears. MS.
Was.
Was it worth it? I pushed through.
Rosa shielding.
But inside, the twist gnawed. Her mercy claim echoed my doubts. Had I been complicit? Too timid to seize my own bold strokes? Tommy called from Philly, saw the feed. You're a goddamn warrior. Warmth flickered. But so did warning, his marriage strained. Whispers of that reporter chick. The controversial pivot came post-hearing. Verdict loomed. But Crow maneuvered a side deal. Off-books reversal tech. Administered in a Malibu clinic under gag order. Fix this quietly, his proxy whispered in a parking garage meet. Shadows long under sodium marks. Temptation clawed, swap back. End the farce. But trust a snake?
No.
I countered. Full disclosure first. Upload the vault's passenger manifest. Exposing the elite immortals, CEOs, senators. A tech mogul who died last year but tweeted from the grave. He balked, I walked. But the seed planted, Priya, from her Berkeley perch, cracked the manifest overnight. A torrent of names flooding WikiLeaks. Pandemonium, stock crashes, congressional hearings, the president himself decrying soul-selling startups. Lena's digital fork glitched public, tweets in my voice. Glitching to hers. I regret nothing. Everything. Help. She reached out then. A desperate DM from a ghost account. Audrey. It's breaking me. The echoes, your brother's face in my dreams.
Meet.
Neutral ground. The old overlook. Donna Redix. I went alone. Civic humming up the pass. Snow chains rattling like chains. She waited by the railing. My body bundled. Wind whipping her, my hair. I can't run anymore, she said. Eyes wet. Take it back. Please. The decision loomed, dark as the abyss below. Reversal here? Risky. No rig, just willpower and whatever psychic residue lingered. Or push her over.
Accidental-like.
End the duality in a splash. Controversial calculus peaked. Killer or savior. I chose the void between.
Jump, I said.
Or confess to the world. Your fork. Your crimes. Live as the fraud. She teetered. Tears freezing on lashes. You win.
Turned.
Walked to the edge. But instead of leap, she knelt.
Sobbing.
The crash. I killed him. Your brother. To protect you, our friendship. Forgive. The truth reversed again. Not cover up, but confession withheld. She'd confessed to me once. Slurred over shots, but blacked out the details. I'd buried it deeper than she knew. My guilt a shield for her remorse. We were mirrors all along, betrayer and betrayed, swapping sins like skins. Distant lights, park rangers? We embraced. Awkward in crossed forms. The wind howling benediction.
Gotti whispered.
I'll claim the body. You fade digital. She nodded, slipping into night. I drove down, dialing Rosa. Wrap it up. I'm coming home. But home, the swap's scar lingered. A phantom itch. As wildfires raged, I wondered, was the revenge mine? Or just another illusion? The Malibu clinic gleamed like a promise under Pacific sunset. waves crashing below cliffs like applause for the damned. Rosa had twisted arms, court order for the reversal. No more shadows. This ends it, Audrey, she said, gripping my shoulder in the lobby. All glass and serenity fountains masking the hum of hidden horrors. Your body, your life. Then we sue for the moon. Lena, or the husk of her, my original form, arrived under escort. Feds in dark suits flanking like pallbearers. She looked wrecked, hollow cheeks. My freckles faded to ghosts, eyes darting like a cornered animal. No digital fork now. Priya's hack had scorched it, essences unraveling in code fires across servers from Palo Alto to Prague. It's over, she muttered as techs prepped the rigs, twin helmets. Wires snaking like IVs of fate. We strapped in facing each other, visors descending like guillotines. The anesthesiologist's drip chilled my veins, her veins, numbness spreading from toes to thoughts. Ready? Crow's ghost engineer asked, voice tinny over intercom.
No. But yes.
The hum built. A choir of electrons. Pulling threads, her memories flooding mine. Coke highs in Hampton's bashes. The abortion's sterile sting. Boardroom conquests I'd envied from afar. Then mine into her. Jersey rains. Code compiles at dawn. The quiet loyalty she'd mocked as weakness. Pain lanced, skulls splitting. Synapses screaming like feedback loops. Visions collided. The crash replayed dual angle. Her hands on the wheel. My plea in the dock. Betrayal's layered. She'd planted the hack not just for cash, but to force my growth, shatter my shell, make me fight. Twisted love. Or sociopath's math. The machine peaked. Essences inverting, blonde to brown, blue to hazel, scar to freckle. Awakening was birth anew, sweat-soaked sheets, monitors beeping victory. I touched my face, chipped tooth, lanky limbs. Across the room, she stirred in Lena's shell, blonde waves matted, eyes fluttering open to blue skies she'd stolen. Audrey, she croaked, voice hers again.
Raw. No.
Lena. The final twist. In the merge, we'd blended, not clean swap, but hybrid souls. Echoes lingered. I felt her cunning spark in my resolve. She my empathy's drag. The docs called it residue. Permanent. Like tattoos under skin. Court wrapped swift after. Thorpe's gavel fell. Neuralink dissolved. Assets to victims fund, me chief among. Crow to Leavenworth. White-collar cage for his immortality sins. Lena? Plea deal. 15 to life for fraud. Conspiracy. The crash manslaughter she'd finally owned. Sentencing in Philly. Full circle. I testified last. Standing tall in my own skin. She stole my life. But gave me this, the fight.
Jurors wept, sorp nadie grave.
Justice ain't tidy. Ms.
Klein.
But it's yours.
Outside.
Media circus. Flashes popping like gunfire. Mics thrusting. Vindication. A perky anchor chirped. I smiled thin. Evolution. Tommy waited curbside. Ex-wife's ring off. Eyes hopeful. Dinner? Risky. But real. We drove to Pat's. Was dripping on napkins. Talking futures over Iron City drafts. Priya texted congrats.
Marco a postcard from Baja. Ghosts buried.
Live loud. Months blurred to normalcy's rhythm. Back at Helix, promoted. Ironically, to ethics oversight, I crunch data with purpose. Lobbying for neural safeguards. Hikes in the redwoods. Coffee black and strong. Nights where echoes whispered but didn't scream. Lena wrote from SCI Muncie. Letters in her looping script. The residue? It's you in me. AUD. Better than before. I burned them. Or filed them. Debate eternal. The ending? Pick your poison. Happy, I thrived. Scars to stars. A TED Talk on reclaiming the self, drawing standing O's. Tragic, the hybrid haunted. Her ambition curdling my peace. A relapse into shadows. Or the gray American truth, messy. Debatable. Where revenge tastes like ash but leaves you standing. In quiet, by the bay's edge. Wind carrying salt and secrets. I raise a glass to the swap. To betrayals that forge. Twists that teach. Would I trade it back? Hell no. This skin's mine. Earned in bloodless wars. Worn with the weight of what was. What is. What might be. And if she ever glitches free, well, the Overlook waits. But that's a story for another hook.